Hey everybody, this is Aluna Michaels, quantum and esoteric astrologer, coming at you to talk about events of November 2016 from a spiritual, quantum, esoteric perspective. Okay, so a little backstory here. So we want to talk about the planet Neptune that's moving direct the 20th of November. The outer planets, you hear of Mercury retrograde. So Mercury goes retrograde 3 times a year for 3 weeks at a time, no big deal, right? All the planets except the sun and moon go retrograde and then direct. Has to do with the fact that we're all revolving around the sun, but relative to us, we live on the earth, not the sun. So according to us, our perspective, the planet is moving backwards than forwards because of an optical illusion of that. So the outer planets, like Neptune being one of them, only goes retrograde once a year, then forward once a year. Neptune went retrograde in June. It's going forward now, November 20th or so. And what's interesting, Neptune is in its own sign of Pisces, and Neptune is a planet of being kind of scattered. It can be cloudy thinking. It can be, ultimately Neptune is like, this is my vision and this is my spiritual growth and all of that. But it can also be like, what's going on? And just on a basic level, Neptune slowing down to turn direction, especially in Pisces, is making it kind of doubly what Neptune's about. In a bad way, it can be, I'm confused, I don't have energy to do something, what's going on, I'm forgetful, almost like kind of a weird Mercury retrograde feeling. What people think is Mercury retrograde. No, it's not, just the Neptune slowing down. Of course, Neptune ultimately wants you to be more internally perceptive, and that can be through meditation, through your dreams, through what do you want your life to be like. It's hard to make it be what you want as much, but how could it be? And Neptune also is about what are the subtle things that are in the way of having you be that. For instance, if you want to be, I want to be happy, I want to be in a happy relationship or something. Neptune can say, well, you have low self-esteem, or you need to work on this part of yourself to feel the happiness you have in this current relationship or whatever. So Neptune could show you the things that are clouding the way to your goal, exposes those things and reveals those things. How you classically in astrology, Neptune was how you deceive yourself, or you be deceived by others. But it's just, what's the do you need to have clearer communication with a person? Do you need clearer communication with the universe about your goals? Clearer communication within yourself about getting specific about what you do want and what you don't want. How come you've been attracting what you don't want? So there can be some revelations going on when the Neptune does move forward. But the day-to-day stuff does feel like you're slogging through water or mud, or, like I've noticed for myself, sometimes a big plan, I'm going to accomplish these things in the day, and it just seems like, ugh, I don't have the effort to, okay, let me just do these little things. And the little things can add up eventually to be, wow, that big thing got done, or those bunch of little things got done. But sometimes Neptune makes you feel like you don't have the effort to do it. So instead of just doing nothing or feeling overwhelmed or depressed about it, you could do smaller things. So you're doing something, because that's when that Neptune is sitting still like that, you can get caught up in some negativity and depression. So you want to keep being active in some way, even if it's not specifically for that goal, like you're doing something. Even if you're doing extra meditation, taking extra naps can be a Neptune sitting still kind of thing, because you're getting a deep sense of refreshing and a perspective change. You could even have some insight in your dream you may or may not consciously remember, but you feel a little more healing. So allowing yourself that gentleness, cut yourself some slack, and get something accomplished, even if it's deciding to not make a decision about something because you don't feel clear. I don't feel I have the information. I don't feel focused enough to do that thing. Then that's being clear that you're not clear. And even that can be a sense of empowerment, in your day. So again, this is all temporary, so it's not really a big deal, but it can make people feel kind of bogged down. The interesting thing is, at the beginning of September, we had an eclipse in Virgo, the sun and moon, new moon in Virgo at the same degree, which is like 10 degrees, let's call it, of where Neptune is going to move forward in November. In the end of February, we're going to have another new moon eclipse, very early Pisces, which would be right with Neptune. So we're in the middle of these two eclipses, right? with that Neptune moving ahead at that same eclipse point, that 10 degrees Virgo Pisces polarity. So it's reminding you of some goals you might have been trying to set up in September. Some people seem to be doubting the choices they made at that time, because we also had the end of August, Saturn and Mars did something at the same, again, that 10 degree of Sagittarius, which makes a 90-degree angle to this whole thing. It's all kind of a collective piece of energy. What's interesting is the Neptune will go forward, and then we have a new moon on the 29th of November. It's not an eclipse, but it's at that same point, that 8 degrees of Sagittarius. So we've got all of that going on about, sticking with your guns, with the choices you would have made, not doubting yourself or seeing, do you need any sort of readjustment of a goal, but not to throw it all out, because Neptune can make you feel like you start doubting everything you did. Oh, I shouldn't have thrown it away. I should have kept going. So that's why it's best to just sort of stop doing things as opposed to undoing stuff, and just wait till you're more clear. And then you get kind of a spark again, probably with that new moon, the 29th, that's kind of bolstering up that other stuff that went on late August, early September, and we'll go even further in February, and we'll talk about in February when it's February. But there's a re-inspiration that would go on once we get past that Neptune Direct around the 20th of the month. The other thing that's interesting is Mercury and Saturn are going to work together. Mercury has, when is it moving to Sagittarius? Like around the 13th of November. And then the week of Thanksgiving or so, that kind of later part when the Neptune's changing, we've got Mercury, which is the thinking, and day-to-day sort of actions can be Mercury, connecting with Saturn, which is really clear. So again, it shows more clarity, making more plans, following through on plans can be Mercury, Saturn. But another I'm saying bad things today, I don't ever say bad things. Another tricky thing about Mercury Saturn is you can feel a bit discouraged. And again, because that Neptune's changing around, and that can bring you down too. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, how far have I really come? Or speaking to some friends about what's the reality here? I think I'm kind of looking through dirty glasses and not seeing clearly. Because that Saturn can kind of, poop on you in your head. And it's like, hey, wait a minute. The Saturn can also be, if you turn it around, I have done this. I've moved forward this much on my goal, or this is where I do want to go, and here's my plan of how to get there. And I'm going to start implementing those things and talking with friends or people that are, caring about you, and listening to your commitments to yourself. So that can be, again, a sense of re-inspiration as opposed to, One of the tricky things, though, too, is that with Thanksgiving, some people have a harder time being around their relatives, and it's easy to get into the old pattern. What's a great tool to use instead of getting to a pattern is observing the pattern and go, oh, I'm feeling really triggered by Aunt Lucy or whatever, and not getting into the same old thing, just watching, doing the same old thing, which is a little different from just doing it. You're actually observing yourself doing it, and maybe taking a step back or having an awareness about it, or even saying aloud. It could be an interesting thing about the Mercury Saturn. You could say, wow, Aunt Lucy, I'm sorry I've been a little edgy here, or whatever. Or saying to your sister you have a better relationship with, wow, I'm really feeling triggered by Aunt Lucy. And then that in itself of acknowledging it, or texting a friend who's not part of the family and saying, oh, I'm really sensing this. It's like, kind of releases you from it, and that can be part of claiming the power of the Mercury Saturn. And again, not a big deal, just kind of comes and goes, but it's there. Okay, another thing we've got is the planet Mars is moving into Aquarius. Mars stays in a sign for about 2 months, so it's not a huge deal. It's changing signs, but Mars in Aquarius, Mars is action, and Aquarius, again, is that capacity to be observing. And so observing the actions, watching what you're doing, and a sense of inspiration about, I can do something different. I do have internal freedom. And one of the things about Mars and Aquarius can be like choosing the thoughts, because Aquarius is about freedom in general, because it's ruled by the planet Uranus, which is about freedom, but also different possibilities. And Mars can be the actions you're taking. I'm thinking differently. In my mind, I'm free. I can choose how to feel about this. I can choose the framework to put this information. Even if it's the same old thing, like, Aunt Lucy triggering me. It's like, I'm observing. Instead of just doing it, I'm observing it, and that's a victory. So that Mars and Aquarius can be making those new moves and empowering yourself through that positive thinking. It's also about taking risks, Mars and Aquarius. I'm really going to do that thing. I'm really going to, ask that person out. I'm really going to, apply for that job and take an action that's risky, but it's thrilling. It doesn't have to be risky, bad risky, but that's sort of out of your box, out of your comfort zone. Can be great. The other thing is that, so Venus is going to move into Capricorn, which is wonderful, and Venus wonderful wherever it is. Venus is money and also love, relationships, things like that, self-esteem too. So Capricorn is a very steady planet, so it can help you look at financial goals, especially if you get into holiday spending, creating a budget. That kind of thing is great when Venus goes into Capricorn. And it's going to be working with the planet Pluto. And Pluto is about personal empowerment, financial empowerment. It also can be about debt. Pluto has this idea about debt. So that again can be how much money you spend on credit cards and looking at planning that out or consolidating debt. It's a great time to do that. This is all going to be like mid-November, kind of before that Neptune goes forward. The planet Jupiter is also going to make a square to the Venus and the Pluto in Capricorn. And Jupiter, of course, is in Libra for this whole year. It went in September. So Jupiter is about fun, and so is Libra is about beautiful things. And Venus in Capricorn can be like, you don't need that, You can just live in an empty box and be fine. It's a place to live, But that's a little harsh, right? And Jupiter in Libra is like, but I like beautiful things, So as you're constructing that new budget for yourself, like allowing for beauty, knowing that I do like to get my nails done once a week, or I like to, go clothes shopping and buy a new outfit once a month. I like to spend money on organic vegetables, whatever. I feel more, healthy and lovely. I like skincare products, whatever the Venus angle of, it's Venus in Capricorn, but Jupiter in Libra is a Venus thing because Libra is connected to Venus. So it's saying we're trying to pull in the beauty while still being clear about my limits, but allowing me to flourish within those limits. So not fighting it, because if that Jupiter can be like, damn it, I'm just going to go out and spend all this money, kind of rail against if that constriction's too tight of the money. And if you're in a relationship where you share money, making sure you're both aboard with that, and that one person is saying, you don't need any more outfits, or you don't need to go, take dance classes or something, whatever. You don't need to have any fun with your friends. We're just going to buckle down and buy Christmas presents or something. You both want to be on that same page, because one will, burst out of that limit, and then you could have some disagreements there. So it's saying that the balance between the clarity and essentials, I guess it's what is essential. And when Jupiter is in Libra, and of course anytime enjoying yourself is essential, and how do you incorporate that into your budget and into your financial plan. Also with relationships, that you're taking into account what each person enjoys, what type of vacation to take, which parents you're going to be with at the holidays. If it's kids in the family too, like it can be something as small as, this one likes action movie, this one likes comedy, this one likes independent films, subtitles or something. How do we work that out? How do we all enjoy? Is one person dominating, or is everyone, we'll just watch, some other type of film nobody likes and then no one's happy? It's like, how do we all be happy while we all like different things? So that can be working that out together as a unit, or as a couple, as a family. Again, when you get to the holidays, that's a little trickier because you got all the personalities. And in that case, you might say, I don't enjoy talking about politics at dinner like Aunt Lucy, but hey, it's one dinner and I'm going to leave and not have to do that again, so I can let it go. I know I enjoy myself with other friends, and this might not be the most enjoyable meal I'm having or the most enjoyable dinner conversation, but I can just allow it and know I've got my power over here with my friends that don't do that. So that can also be a way it balances within yourself, and you don't cause a lot of ruckus about it. And again, you're observing your behavior and thoughts. So just the bottom line here is with that Neptune, it's not as bad as it seems to be. Things are going to clarify and clear up, and you'll have this idea of inspiration. If you can do some, again, resting, internal planning, visioning, but what you do want, it's going to be more clear about how to get there. And don't feel too discouraged during this time, because you have made a lot of progress, and you're going to see that progress that's been made as we move through November. So if you'd like to have a session with me, it's alunamichaels.com. You can text or call at 248-583-1663. Also, to say I do have holiday gift certificates if you want to do that. Speaking of planning for gifts, if you want to do that for friends and family. And I even have my ebook on my website or on Amazon, and you could try that. So hopefully you will have a great November, and I'll talk to you next month, and bye for now.